Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're going to be reviewing a relatively new product and a very talked about one, and one that I've even got requested by a few people throughout the recent videos to actually review, and that is Unliftable by Inaki, a new reimagination of the light heavy deck. This one is very fun. It does have some gripes with it that you do need to know before actually buying it, so that you know if it fits your performing environment, which is important. But except for that, it's a very good gimmick, a very good effect, easy to do, and very strong. So I can't wait to talk more about this right after the intro. Let's go. Perfect, so you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Unliftable. So what is Unliftable? Unliftable is essentially a light heavy deck where you place the deck on the table, you ask your player to pick it up, and he will not be able to, but then you just tell them, look, it is very easy to pick it up. You can show that it's easy. You put it again on the table, you ask them to pick it up, they will not, and then again, you just easily pick it up with no effort. Now, because of what I hinted, because of the performing environment, this cannot be done on such a surface. So what I'm gonna do is I'll maybe include maybe a 5 or 10 second clip of me just doing a quick showcase of you of how this actually plays out right now, and we're gonna include it right here. Okay, so in terms of a very quick performance of this effect, is you can introduce to your spectator the idea of pseudo-hypnosis or hypnosis, whatever you want. And then you're going to place this on the table and you're going to tell your spectator to just imagine, or they touch your finger to lose their strength. So you're going to attempt to pick this up. You tell them with 2 fingers to just attempt to pick it up, and they will not be able to pick it up. You can see I'm actually trying to pick it up and they won't. And then you, with just a pull, you're able to pick it up. And then say, look, I don't want you to think that maybe the cards are weighing the deck in. You can see the box is indeed empty. They can take a look at that and say, look, now an empty box, we're going to do the same thing. I want you to imagine that you're losing your strength, and then they're going to try and attempt to pick up the empty box, and they will not be able to pick up the empty box either. And then of course say, look, but with just a snap, you can get back your strength and pick it right back up. And that would essentially be the presentation of Unliftable. Okay, so now you've actually seen how this works on surface and what it can achieve, and you can actually see that it does work. So now that you know what Unliftable is, let's talk about where you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get. So you can buy this directly from Penguin Magic or some other associate dealers. Personally, I got mine where I get almost all my magic, ALAKAZAM Magic. If you want, there's a discount code down below. It will set you back 29 USD, which is around 40-ish Canadian dollars. And what you get with your purchase is this box. Inside of this box, you are going to get your actual card gimmick box, which is this one. This card gimmick can also suit a deck of cards. So inside here, I actually have a deck of cards. So you can actually take this out in performance or out in performance, and then it's a normal deck of cards. Nothing has to be in the box for this, but if you want, I always keep a deck of cards. I like to, in the first phase, have the cards inside. Do it. They're not able to, I remove it and say, look, if you think the cards have something to do with it, maybe there's some special cards, I remove the cards, place them down to the side, show them the empty box, put the empty box as well. They won't be able to lift it, and then I lift the empty card box as well. And as they see, like, it's actually very interesting, but let's try something different now. Let's move on. And now I have the deck of cards already set up, which lets me clean the, put the box away without having it inspected, which is something that we're going to talk about. But you can host a deck of cards inside of there. This is what the box looks like. It is pretty good quality. It is different. It is, I think, more of a plasticky finish, but that doesn't mean it's going to last an entire lifetime. But it is in the instructions, which is what also you're going to get with this. You get instructions that do teach you how to move the gimmick from a box to another box relatively easily. And in the instructions, I think there's 4 videos of around a minute long. So one of them teaches you how to do the gimmick, one of them is a performance, one of them just shows you how this works, and one of them shows you how you can make this inspectable, which in my opinion is definitely not true. But it goes over. It's a very short video. As I said, I think it's 4 to 7 minutes if you put all the videos together. And yeah, that's everything that you get. So you get your deck and the instructions. Okay? So now that you know what Unliftable is, let's talk about difficulties. How difficult is Unliftable to perform? It is very easy to perform. So as long as you can take a deck and place it on a table that is required for this, we're going to talk about that in Practicality, you are good to perform. So as long as you can do that, and as long as you can have your fingers and just pick up a deck like this, you can perform this effect. It is super simple. Even for fun, I had my dad do it for my mom, and he's never performed magic. He's seen me do a lot of magic. He literally was able to do this effect with I think 20 seconds of explanation as to how this works. He was able to do the effect without any issues. So difficulty wise, it is very easy. The only thing that I do want to mention, and this is very important, they say it a ton of times in the text, in the tutorial, but also for these type of effects, is don't present this as a challenge. Because if you present this as a challenge and a specter actually goes in and grips it and just tugs the hardest he can, he will probably be able to lift it off the table, and he will also probably break your gimmick. So don't do that. Never present this as a challenge. So difficulty wise, it is important to look at your script, at what you're saying and how you're articulating it, because as I said, you don't want this to be presented as, look, you are big, strong, but you can lift the box. I'm the the conniving smart magician. I can lift it with just a finger. Don't do that. As long as you script it correctly and you make it kind of a pseudo hypnosis, or you make it as some kind of bizarre moment, then of course the specters will participate and will actually like the moment and be surprised that they cannot lift the deck. So that's the only thing also difficulty wise that you need to carry in your head, is that to not present this as a challenge, okay? But that said, let's move over to practicality. So what is the practicality of this? Well, in terms of carrying capacity, all you need is the deck. So you're going to need this specific deck, whether with cards inside or not. Personally, I advise you put a deck of cards inside. It won't host an entire deck of cards, but if you're doing things like ambitious or decks that don't need, a full deck of cards, you can definitely put around 45-ish cards inside and do some effects afterwards. So you can definitely carry around a deck inside with this. It's not a problem whatsoever. So all you need is to carry this with you and you are good to go. Now, before we continue, there are also some table restrictions. Those are the biggest restrictions. So if a table has a tablecloth, you will not be able to perform this. If a table has a mat such as this, you will not be able to perform this. If you want to perform it on the floor, but it's like granite or rock surface, you will not be able to perform it. If there's a carpet on the floor or anything like that, you will not be able to perform this. So what you need in order to perform this is, and I've tested them, you can do this on a wooden floor. So if you have like a wooden floor, you can do it on a wooden floor. You can do this on wooden tables, whether it's desks or normal dining tables, it will work. Glass tables will work. Granite surfaces, so if you have a kitchen surface, like in my kitchen, it works perfectly. If you have a granite surface, it will work perfectly. If you have a metal surface like that is clean, so like of those IKEA tables, if you have a metal surface that doesn't have ridges in it, so holes, you'll be able to perform this. So like gardening tables usually have holes in them. This will not work spectacularly well with that, but if there's no ridges or holes, it will work well. And also any plastic surfaces. So if you have plastic tables or fake wood, like those fake wood tables that are still kind of plastic, but they look like wood, they simulate wood, it will work on those surfaces as well. So this does work on a multitude of surfaces, but you do still need to have those surfaces at your disposal in order to perform them. So that is a practicality concern as well. But most places where you're gonna go around will be able to have those. But if you are a very fancy performer that performs at fancy restaurants, then the restaurants do have tablecloths, which will not let you perform this. And if you perform at weddings, usually weddings have tablecloths as well, so you will not be able to perform this. So those are things you do need to keep in mind regarding practicality. Additionally, about practicality is that this is not inspectable. Even the version that they say makes it inspectable, it does not whatsoever. This is not inspectable at all. So if the spectator just looks at the box and they're just a bit, like I could see how this works, they will know how it works 100% of the time. This is not inspectable whatsoever. In terms of reset, it's an immediate reset. As long as you pick up the box and you place it in your pocket, you're good to go. You're reset for your next performance. So the reset is great. In terms of angles, it can also be almost 360. You can do this surrounded, no problem. As long as you have the table, you can do this, no problem. And also practicality concern is you need a table. So you cannot do this if you do not have a table. You will need a table in order to perform this that fits the characteristics. So that is something that you need to know as well. So now that you know that, let's talk about where to perform. So you can perform this anywhere that has the correct table, right? So I think I've already hinted that if you perform at fancy restaurants with tablecloths, this will not work. Weddings, pretty much all weddings that I've ever performed at have tablecloths, so this will not work. So you do need to make sure that the venues where you perform do not have tablecloths, or if you go to a venue and you're planning on doing this, you can have it with you in case you can perform it, but if not, you will just not be able to perform it. So it is important to know that where you're going out to perform, that if you really want to do this, you'll have to inquire a bit about the table surfaces beforehand, because if not, well, you're not in luck regarding this effect. So that is the thing that you need to know, because except for that, I feel that this could definitely work on a stage. The visual of the person not being able, if you have cameras and stuff, it will work perfectly. Parlor, if you have the correct setting, it will work. Close up, etc., mingle settings, cocktails, corporates, it will work perfectly and it will fly by everyone. So yes, you do need to keep all of that in mind. So having said all of this, what are the positives and negatives of Unliftable? Well, let's start out with the negatives. One of the negatives is, of course, that you need the table surface. You will need always a table that has the correct characteristics. Now that just means it's 90% of tables will work as long as they don't have mats, tablecloths, or anything obstructing the smoother surface of the table. So that is a negative that you do have to keep in mind. Additionally, this is 0% examinable. Even the alternative that they give you to make it examinable will not fly by, in my opinion. It could maybe work, but I don't think it will fool anyone if they actually inspect it. You showing the back like that to them quickly is not making it inspectable whatsoever, because even if you do the little thing that they tell you, if they pick it up and look at it, they will see or think of the method. So you do have to keep that in mind, that this is not inspectable whatsoever. But now that you know the negatives, let's go with the positives. One, out of all the heavy light principles, this is one that actually works, is easy to do, and will actually work. So a lot of them, work on suggestion or gimmicks that take a long time to ignite, or some gimmicks that aren't really reliable. This will work 100% of the time as long as you do it on the correct surface, and it will never fail you. So that is very nice to know that it will do what it's supposed to do. It's easy to do, it's easy to carry around. You can have a deck of cards inside, which will allow you to move into other routines after without any issues. It's relatively well built. It's also nice that if the box breaks or damages, you can just take your gimmick and adapt it to another box without any problem, which is very nice to have as well. It's relatively well built, and again, the most important is that it does what it's supposed to do well. So now that I've said all of this, would I recommend Unliftable, and what do I give it out of 10? If you're looking for kind of a pseudo-hypnosis type routine where you can have the specter lift and not lift certain things, then this will work perfectly, and I do think you will not be disappointed with this, as long as the table settings that I've hinted at you have, then this will work perfectly, and I think you will be happy with your purchase, even though it's not inspectable. Except for that, what do I give it out of 10? It does have a few drawbacks. It does have a few things that are important to have. So it's not the perfect product, but it is still very good. It's getting an 8.25 on 10 for me. I am using this on occasions, but not so often. But it still is very good, and I still like how it works and the thinking behind it. It's still a very good product. It's getting an 8.25 from me. And that's all I have to say. If you have any additional questions about Unliftable, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you all in my next review. Have a good one, and bye.